this movie, we're going to continue our exploration of how to trim efficiently inside of Adobe Premiere Pro using our 360 VR footage. We left off in the last movie seeing how the default selection tool already had a built-in trim tool, and under the preferences, we reversed that. But what about other types of trimming? So there are some workflows out there where people will just essentially select all of their clips and they'll throw them into the timeline. And this could work in this particular instance. We're really just putting together a travel montage video where we want to have some video underneath it. So we can bring in all the raw clips and potentially make in and out point decisions directly in our timeline. Well, how could we use some built-in Premiere Pro shortcuts to achieve that? So let me give you an example. I'm going to move to the beginning of my timeline. We know right now that home on the extended keyboard will get us there. Function left arrow on a laptop. I want to press the L key to play forward, and I'm just going to play this clip. And as I play this clip, I'm like, you know what? I just want to start it here, so I'm going to press the Q key. You'll notice that the playback is stopped, but more importantly, my clip was trimmed based on wherever my playhead was when I pressed Q. I want to press Control Z to get back to square one. Let me press the L key again just to show that, and let's just say that I want the clip to start here instead. Q. Done. Let me press L to move a little bit forward. I decide that I want to cut the clip right here, so I'll press W. Done. Now I'm on the second clip. I'm looking at it. I kind of like the length, but I want to stop it here, so I'll press W. Playback is now continued. Decide, you know what, I want to start this drone clip right here, so I'll press Q. Right away, I'm being able to cut my raw footage directly in my timeline using Q and W. Some people call this top and tail editing, meaning that you can trim the top and tail of your clip. It works great in a situation like this where we have all our clips on the V1 track. If you have lots, or there's a very complicated project where you might have interview clips on V1, B-roll clips on V2, another set of B-roll clips on V3, this method that I'm describing to you might not work as well. But there are ways around or other ways to trim. Now I'm just going to press Control Z to undo those trimming options and give you yet another way to trim inside of Premiere Pro in the timeline. Another shortcut key for your arsenal is if you press Shift and then the downward and upward arrow key, I can move between edits on my PC. You can just do this with the up and down arrow keys on a Mac without having to press the Shift button. I can move between my edit points with ease. And once I get to an edit point, I can actually select it without having to click on it. So if I press T, I want you to notice I enter into this thing called trim mode. My program monitor shows me the left and right side of the edit. And it also allows for something pretty intuitive. So if I press the spacebar, it's going to play around the edit point. It's going to play a certain amount of seconds before the edit, and a certain amount of edits after the edit. And it's going to loop the playback over and over again until I tell it to stop. It's currently on a roll edit, which we're not covering in this course. But if I press the spacebar to stop, it's going to jump back to the edit point. And the cool part about this is that I can actually sift through all the various types of trims. I'm just going to press Shift T and just notice that the ripple trim on the outgoing clip or the A side of the edit is selected. Shift T again. Notice that the incoming clip is selected. Shift T again. And then I've got my overwrite trims followed by that roll edit, which we just haven't learned yet, but I encourage you to experiment with it if you're curious to know what it does. Even better. So everything I've done so far is just a series of shortcuts. And what's so exciting about that is that I can drive all of my edits by shortcuts. In fact, I can even drive my trimming by shortcuts. So to give you an example, let's say I wanted to trim a certain amount of frames, as you can see, off the outgoing clip. So you'll see these little buttons here that are showing up here in the program monitor in my trim mode. And as I hover over them, I can trim backward by a certain amount of frames, either 1 or 5. And there are shortcut keys assigned with them. So if I wanted to, I could just now press Control left arrow and notice frame by frame, I'm trimming a certain amount of frames off the outgoing clip. I could then easily cycle using Shift T on my PC. By the way, this is Control T on the Mac. I'm now going to select the incoming clip and just do the same thing. I'm going to actually do Control right arrow to trim a couple frames off the incoming clip. And then if I'm not satisfied, I can actually press the space bar now to check my edit. If I'm not happy, I could of course press Shift T to cycle through those trim modes. And if I wanted to, I could continue to trim right now live and on the fly. I'm pressing Control right arrow. This is not going to update until it's played around the edit point once. Okay? So this is a very powerful way to edit, and I'm just going to press the spacebar to stop. If I'm in trim mode and then press the down arrow, it's just going to keep me in trim mode as I move between each of the edits. And I could essentially do this entire edit of my virtual reality piece, getting this down to 45 seconds or 30 seconds in trim mode. You guys have a ton of options to trim right now. You've got the built-in default selection tool, the ripple trim, the overwrite trim. We've also talked about that ability of being able to extract or lift things out of your timeline using in and out points. We then furthered that up with top and tail editing using the Q and the W keys to trim the top and tail of your clips. And we finalized that by going into an actual trim mode, whichever clip you're over, by simply pressing the T key. You can cycle between all of the various trims, then by pressing Shift T, and move between all of your edit points in trim mode by using your up and down arrow keys. So there you have it, a bunch of different ways to trim. And I'm going to encourage you guys right now to go through this entire project and try to get it down to at least 45 seconds or 30 seconds. Just practice all of these trimming methods and put it to memory, because by doing, you're going to get that much further with your 360 workflow. I'll join you in the next movie. I'll have a project ready regardless, or we're going to add a piece of music. See you soon.